Dr. Dre might not have become the first billionaire in hip-hop like he promised in 2014, but he's still one of the richest men in the business. Forbes gave that title to Jay-Z, whose investments in title and champagne brand Armand de Brignac raised him to billionaire status in June 2019. Today, we're going to be talking about how Dr. Dre earned his money and how he spends it. Let's begin with his early career. From humble beginnings in Compton, California, the rap mogul co-founded Death Row Records with Marion Suge Knight in 1991. After N.W.A. disbanded in 1992, he helped launch some of the biggest names in rap, including Snoop Dogg, Tupac Shakur, and his own solo career. While under the label, he released the debut solo album, The Chronic, which sold 5.7 million copies in the US, and he spent 28 consecutive weeks on the Billboard Top 10 chart in 1993. In July 2015, after more than 20 years off the charts, the album sold 8,000 copies and claimed the number 72 spot on the list. In 1996, Dre left Death Row Records and founded Aftermath Entertainment. The record company has launched a number of A-list rappers and renowned albums, including Eminem's The Slim Shady LP, and Dr. Dre's 2001, 50 Cent's Get Rich or Die Tryin', and The Game's The Documentary. Dr. Dre and Eminem are still signed to this label, as well as newer artists Kendrick Lamar and John Connor. To date, the rapper's been nominated for 26 Grammys, taking home 7 of the coveted trophies. What about beyond the projects? After 20 years in the recording industry, Dre co-founded Beats by Dr. Dre, an audio brand that sells premium headphones, earphones, and speakers. With Jimmy Levine in 2006, the wildly successful company was acquired by Apple in 2014 for $3 billion cash and stock options. The Apple Beats deal earned Dr. Dre a whopping $500 million after taxes, which effectively catapulted him to near billionaire status. As part of the deal, Dr. Dre and Levine now hold executive roles at Apple, proving that a success story translates pretty well on screen. Dr. Dre's rise to fame in the rap group N.W.A. was chronicled in the 2015 Straight Outta Compton movie. The runaway hit had a production budget of $28 million, but earned $60.2 million at the box office during its debut weekend, and amassed a total of $201 million worldwide, according to Box Office Mojo. It's unclear how much Dr. Dre earned from the film, but he released Compton, his first film in 16 years, days before the film hit theaters, and the well-timed move boosted U.S. sales to 295,000 units in its first week. Now let's move on to his real estate ventures. Dr. Dre's net worth is apparently pretty lavish by his taste in real estate. In 2014, shortly after he sold Beats to Apple, he dropped $40 million on a nearly 4-acre estate previously owned by Tom Brady and Gisele Bundchen in the swanky Brentwood, California neighborhood of Los Angeles. 1 year later, the rapper and his then-wife Nicole Young sold their 9,696 square foot Hollywood Hills home for $32 million, which was nearly double the $15.4 million they paid in 2011. He also reportedly owns a $4.8 million, 8,842 square foot beachfront property in Malibu and a $2.4 million, 13,748 square foot home in Woodland Hills. Following their divorce, Young walked away with a massive $100 million settlement, acquiring more than 1/5 of the rap icon's fortune and roughly half of his liquid assets. What about his cars, you're asking? While it is common to see popular rappers showing off their expensive cars and assets, Dr. Dre seems to be on the other side of that spectrum. He seems to be someone who actually doesn't pride himself so much in showing off his cars and houses and other expensive belongings to the media. As a matter of fact, there are very few pictures of him posing with his expensive cars, despite several sources claiming that he actually does have a nice collection of luxury cars. Nevertheless, we were able to find some reliable sources that give a list of expensive luxury cars currently present in Dr. Dre's collection. They include a Rolls-Royce Phantom Drophead Coupe, $450,000, Cadillac Escalade ESV, $200,000, Hummer H2, $50,000 to $80,000, Chrysler 300C, $48,000, and a Bentley Continental GT, $200,000. In short, here's a breakdown of his net worth and earnings. In retrospect, his toll road to wealth began in 2011, when he sold part of his Aftermath shares for $52 million to Interscope. This, together with the cumulative amount that he had earned from his album projects, placed him in the 44th place in the richest musicians list. At the time, the richest person was estimated to have a net worth of $270 million. Later the same year, he was involved in a number of projects that skyrocketed his wealth to a whopping $110 million. By 2011, Dr. Dre's wealth had shot to $250 million, with the bulk of it emanating from his active involvement with Beats Electronics. Later the same year, HTC paid the company $300 million for a 51% stake. Dre took with him $85 million, raising his net worth to an estimated $335 million. He beat Jay-Z in 2014 to become the second richest rapper with an estimated net worth of $550 million, holding the second place after Sean Combs, who has been holding the #1 position for a long time. Dre's third studio album, Compton, in 2015, was certified silver in the UK. The album sold 276,000 copies within its first week of release. years, remaining in the chart's top 10 for a number of weeks. This, altogether with the amount he made from the sale of Beats Electronics, brought his net worth to an estimated $700 million. Besides making oodles of money both in and outside of music, Dre is known to be an incredibly generous man. In May 2013, he donated $70 million to the Academy of Arts and Technology and Innovation Business to the University of South California. Let's move on to something a little more personal about Dr. Dre. Rapper and record producer Dre has won millions of fans thanks to his songs. A lot is known about his professional life, but not much is known about his personal life and his family, including his ex-wife. Dr. Dre has been married to Nicole Young for a very long time now, and the couple has been spotted vacationing with their children over the years. Before she married Dr. Dre, she was married to now retired NBA player Gisele Bundchen. Young was still married to Bundchen when she met her ex-husband. Dr. Dre has 6 children, 4 sons and 2 daughters, by 5 different women. When Dr. Dre was just 1 year old, Dr. Dre's brother Jerome passed away from pneumonia. He also lost half-brother Tyree, who he dedicated his last song of Chronic 2001, The Message, to. Dr. Dre and Warren G became stepbrothers when Dre's mom and Warren's dad married and brought the families together. It's actually through Warren G that Dre met Snoop and signed him, as Snoop originally worked with Warren G and Nate G. He purchased a $40 million mega mansion in Los Angeles back in 2014 from New England's Patriots quarterback Tom Brady and supermodel Gisele Bundchen. The house originally hit the market for $50 million after taking over 3 years to construct from scratch. It looks magnificent. Finally, despite the fact that his life seems flawless, Dre has definitely seen his fair share of ups and downs. Dr. Dre was born to a very young mother, who had just turned 16 when he was born. Shortly after that, his father left, and Dr. Dre was raised by his well-meaning, yet highly disadvantaged, teenage single mother. In spite of every single effort she made to give him the best possible life that she could, Dr. Dre's mother often found herself struggling to make ends meet, and going from one abusive relationship to another. This difficult lifestyle put a continuous strain on his life, and Dr. Dre quickly abandoned his childhood and discovered several skills that would keep himself and his mother afloat. Dr. Dre had a stint in jail in 1995 after taking police on a high-speed car chase while he was intoxicated behind the wheel. He also had been through the court system for assault and battery charges. Seems like he also had connections to the underworld for most of his life. The first major occurrence dating back to 1987. Dr. Dre had a series of misdemeanors, including unpaid traffic tickets, which ended up costing him time in jail. So he turned to the only resource he knew at the time, the drug lord and gangster that he was affiliated with on the street, Eric Wright. Wright agreed to bail him out on the condition that he would pay his debt off by producing his record, which ironically turned out becoming Dr. Dre's lucky break. Soon he was introduced to Ice Cube, and Wright took on the persona of Eazy-E. A band was soon formed and introduced to the world as N.W.A. Adding to the tumultuous life of Dr. Dre was the fact that one of his children passed away at a young age. It was 2008 when Dr. Dre's son, N.W.A. Young Jr., died of a drug overdose in his home. He was the child that Dr. Dre had with Janita Porter, and the entire situation was devastating for everybody involved. And these are just some of the tragedies that the rappers faced. But that's all the time that we have for today, so make sure to comment down below what you found most interesting about Dre's life. Until next time, later.